Welcome to the 2019 National Tourism Debate. I'm your host, Janet Silvero. We're in the semi-final round of the National Tourism Debate, and we have changed course. We wish to thank our host hotel, the Iberostar Hotels and Resorts. Can I have a round of applause? The National Tourism Debate was created by One Love Productions to engage high school students on an intellectual level to do research and to be knowledgeable of the tourism industry. 4 schools will compete in the semifinals, with 2 schools advancing to the finals. Prizes include the National Tourism Debate Trophy, a scholarship, cash, and other prizes. The debate could not have been done without our kind sponsors. Iberostar Hotel, S Hotel, the Jamaica Observer, Recruiting Panda, Starbucks, Angling Global, Jamaica Bookings and Events, Deja Resorts, R&R Complex, Ward's Auto Center, Rosal Great House, CGM Gallagher, Travel Meetings and Events, Kerry Foundation, Mobay City Run, and Option Cosmetics. The 2019 National Tourism Debate is endorsed by the Ministry of Education, the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association. When we return, we will welcome the first match of our semifinals for the 2019 National Tourism Debate, Bel Air High School versus Herbert Morrison Technical High. We will be right back. Welcome back. Our judges this evening are Chief Judge, Attorney at Law, Stacey Ann Williams. And with her, Mr. Robin Russell, Area Chapter Chair of the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association. Mr. Davin Crump, President of Global Outsource Solutions. Proposing the moot is Bel Air High. Opposing the moot is Herbert Morrison Technical High School. Our speakers this evening are Bel Air High School, Talia Coley, LaShawn Booth, and Donna Wilson. From Herbert Morrison High School, Trustin Grizzle, Tejana Taylor, and Joel Richards. The first speaker is allowed 7 minutes, the second speaker 5 minutes, and the third speaker 3 minutes, followed by our rebuttal, which will begin with the opposing team. The match will begin with our proposing team, Bel Air High. Can I have a round of applause for Bel Air High?
Grab a copy for news you can use. Jamaica Observer, every day matters.
I want to rule my destiny. I will not be distracted early in the game by the little quick money. Madam Chairperson, judges, my worthy opponents, teammates, members of the audience, a pleasant morning. Before I get into this debate, it is my duty to set the parameters by defining key terms. According to Merriam-Webster, the word reliant means to be dependent on something. According to the same source, the word school leavers refers to young people who has just left high school. So the matter at hand today is Montego Bay has become overly dependent on call centers and tourism to provide employment for their high school graduates. Madam Speaker, the proposition is not here today to say that we should not have call centers and tourism. But what we are saying is that it should not be on such a large scale as it presently is, as this does not bode well for our economy. As the first speaker, I will enlighten you on the negatives of relying too much on something that does not belong to you. My second speaker will speak to the fact that as a nation, we should encourage STEAM education and entrepreneurship through skill building. And my third speaker will clue you in on the environmental detriments of being too reliant on tourism. Facts. There is currently 51 operating BPOs in Jamaica, most of which are in Montego Bay. The call centers operators seek cheap labor, which means low paying to us, and the hotels generating the most money do not belong to our country. I will pause for you to process that, my opposition. Montego Bay is reliant on tourism and call centers as a key source of income for school leavers, another fact. And yes, they do provide jobs, but the question begs, how much security can these jobs provide? I will speak to you from a place of experience. I live in Mandeville. There was a time when Manchester and St. Elizabeth were both dangerously dependent on Bauxite Company. And when the companies packed up and left, these parishes were in despair. I witnessed the closure of small businesses, the bars, the shops, the small clothing stores. This is because the spending power of the citizens declined significantly. The unemployed ratio went up significantly, and men were just hanging in the corners in my community. My friend became a visitor to the school because her parents could not afford to send her to school 5 days a week. Not just that, Madam Speaker, but the very school that I am presently a member of, Bel-Air High School, had to change its elite private school status and is now a granting aid institution, a government school, as the parents of these students either migrated or could no longer afford to send their children to school. In short, the parishes struggled and continue to struggle in some aspect because this, as a people, we did not have a foresight or a plan for the future. We were too dependent on these companies. We believe that the industry is unshakable. This, I believe, is exactly what is happening to Montego Bay. With the mass injection of BPO and tourism in Montego Bay, I am very worried, and you should be worried too, my opposition, for the future. Take some advice from someone who has seen it happen. We are putting ourselves in an uncomfortable position by being so overly dependent on these mediocre avenues to provide employment for our young people. This is not only a danger that lingers here, but we need to ask who benefits. Majority of the money that these hotels and attractions earn leave the country. This the Jamaican government has accepted as our present situation. In a Gleaner article dated Sunday, February 14, 2019, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett said that last year Jamaica earned more than US $3 billion from visitors in the island, but was only able to retain US 3 cents per dollar. So the danger lingering here is that we are teaching our young people that because they pay you a little dollar, it is okay for us to continue to build their economy and not ours. We are encouraging them to not be a part of the STEAM education, to not strive to become entrepreneurs because call center and maid work, they're both. Slippery slope, Madam Speaker, this is a slippery slope. The opposition will belabor on the employment these avenues provide. But do not be fooled. Not every employment is good employment. Opposition members, not every employment is good employment. The slaves had abundance of employment, Madam Speaker, but this did nothing for their individual social and economic life. Come on, people, do not be fooled. Better yet, thinking like this creates a society that is not just being cheated on the front end, but it also encourages us to find other means of survival and schemes, like Cash Plus came along and robbed us on the back end. Call centers and tourism have left the parish vulnerable and will only get worse if we continue on this path. According to the Jamaica Observer dated February 3, 2017, several call center workers are reportedly walking away from their jobs because of the failure of at least one company to honor its employment contract. Workers are allegedly denied overtime pay as well as health insurance benefits. News stories like this hurts my heart because it is not enough that they pay us little, but they have the audacity to be nonchalant with our health. They do not have our personal, social, or economic well-being as concern. It is about the cheap labor and lining their own pockets. Do not encourage our young people to buy into this. Employment will keep them off the street, they say. And yes, Madam Speaker, we do agree. But we need to encourage other types of employments like farming, employments that will have direct benefits to the economy. We need to encourage our young people to learn a trade or a skill. Or better yet, why not further their education? These avenues are the sacrifices that our vibrant population should be embracing, as it represents a better possibility for independence in the long run. I will leave you with this. Encouraging BPO and tourism on such a large scale as Montego Bay is presently doing is like a mother keeping her child at home because the child is being bullied by his peers. He sits inside and he eats, he watches the TV and he plays video games. Is this okay because the she is protecting him? I guess not. I do not need to explain to the opposition that her short-sightedness will work out to her son's detriment in the long run. So I beg, let us be the mother that will teach our children to defend themselves. Be the nation that will encourage sacrifice to learn a trade and sacrifice to get an education or a skill, as this will benefit us in the long run. The preposition pauses.
Madam Chairman, esteemed judges, my worthy opponents, and other members of the House, a pleasant morning to you all. It is with grateful hearts that we, the members of the opposition, stand here to oppose the moot. Montego Bay is too reliant on BPO call centers and tourism for jobs for school leavers. My second speaker will discuss the benefits of BPO and tourism, while my third speaker, he will discuss capitalizing on opportunities presented by these sectors. When we speak of being too reliant, this encompasses being too dependent on a particular thing. In this case, as mentioned by the moot, we are too dependent on BPO call centers and tourism in providing job opportunities for our school leavers. For our high school graduates, finding a job is usually one of two options available to that individual. The other is to continue his or her studies at the university level. In the event that a school leaver wishes to venture into the world of work, most often than not, these companies will require our youth to have some level of experience in the field. But the question is, where will we get these experiences from? It is for this reason that our young people are introduced to the BPO call centers and the tourism sector. It is not a matter of us being overly reliant on these industries, but they are within our reach and are easily accessible to our young people. After spending some amount of time in these businesses, they would have been granted the opportunity to develop their communication skills, their customer service abilities, teamwork, and work ethics. In so doing, ladies and gentlemen, their interpersonal and intrapersonal characteristics are heightened while adding experience. In this regard, we become more marketable as individuals and more holistic in today's society. Mind I remind you, members of the House, Montego Bay is not too reliant on the BPO call centers and tourism for jobs for school leavers. We are simply taking advantage of the opportunity that is presented to us. In doing so, this reduces the unemployment rate in young adults and, in addition, reducing the crime rate. The BPO sector acts as a magnet in pulling young unemployed people, leading side government to think that we are dependent on it. Madam Speaker, it seems like side government would like to belittle the fact that the BPO sector is of vital importance in the aid of building a better future for Jamaica. So if side government say that we are relying on the sector, knowing that the use of this sector leads to the betterment of our country, one will have to ask, are they really for or against the country? While we keep on pondering on the amount of hours that can be clocked at a conduit or the amount of shifts that can be covered in the housekeeping department, we seem to forget the little men that made all this possible. Infrastructure before enterprise. Jobs are being created indirectly by these sectors, and as a result, can be seen as more beneficial than the actual call center. Professionals such as electricians, masons, plumbers, and carpenters, just to name a few, are just a small fraction of our skilled laborers who use their experience to make the stay at a hotel successful and incident-free. We are therefore not too reliant on these industries. In fact, it is these sectors that need our skilled workmen to function in a stable and safe environment. Now, just a little of insight, side government. Madam Prime Minister mentioned that call centers and the tourism sector, to an extent, does not help the economy. But might I remind you that in an interview with the GIS News, Minister without portfolio in the Office of Economic Growth and Job Creation, the Honorable Horace Chang, mentioned that the BPO sectors provides upwards of $230 million in developing the country's economy. The unethical idea that side government is trying to pass on to us as well-thinking individuals with logical reasoning skills is that the future we will have is a country with robotic human beings waking up morning after morning and making their way to a call center. But I would love for us to be reminded that these industries, especially the BPO sector, is merely a stepping stone for individuals. You hardly find persons being employed in this area for 20, 30 years. No, persons have lives. It is as a result of this that persons use the BPO sector as stepping stones for their development. After a certain time, they would either move on to further their education or move on to where they are comfortable working. Judges, members of the government, Montego Bay is not too reliant on BPO call centers for tourism and jobs for school leavers. Thank you.
The opposition leader said that we are taking advantage of the BPOs. But we took advantage of China's funds, and look where that got us. We are so far in debt that we can barely see our knees. As a proposition, we have a responsibility to have foresight in ensuring the prosperity of the country and the future economy. How can we fulfill this responsibility if we do not invest in the areas that we rely heavily on in the future? Areas that speak to our 2030 vision of making Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and create businesses. The vision speaks to creating entrepreneurs. Empower the young to see themselves as social and economic builders, employers, and not just employees. All protocols observed, good evening. I am here to further our stance on the moot. Montego Bay is too reliant on BPO call centers and tourism for jobs for school leavers. Judges, over the years, Jamaica, Montego Bay in particular, has been reliant on call centers and tourism to provide jobs for school leavers. So much that there is a mind shift in these individuals. No longer do they pride themselves on 8 or 10 subjects, nor do they see attaining a first-class honors degree as a part of the process to be one's best self. Many of these individuals are okay and comfortable settling for mediocrity. The proposition believes that Montego Bay, Jamaica, must empower our young people to get trained in science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. This is the way of the future, not working in call centers or working at the bottom in tourism jobs. Yes, judges, all these jobs are low-level jobs. And we believe that with limited education and experience, that's the kind of job and opportunities that will be available to school leavers. If the way of the future is STEAM education, what future are we sending our school leavers into when they are so reliant on call center jobs and tourism jobs? On the advertising agent Glassdoor webpage, Sutherland Global Services highlights job opportunities available and what is needed to apply for these call center jobs. Our most successful candidates will have high school diploma or GED, basic PC keyboarding skills, basic Microsoft Office, Outlook, Word, and Excel experience required. Oppositions, are we really going to accept this for our young people? Basic. According to Nearshore Expansion Strategies and Consultation webpage in an article by Diane Rose, a customer service personnel at IBEX Global gets US $3.20 per hour, or Jamaican dollars $16,480 per 40-hour work week. Basic requirements needed for a basic salary. According to the same source, we learned that at StarTech, there is not a set salary. Your pay is dependent on the amount of calls you receive, so you might get less than what was mentioned above. The opposition may say these persons who are employed at the call centers make a good amount of money, but I'm here to say that is not true. Sally gets 35,000 Jamaican dollars every fortnight. That may seem like a lot, but it is not enough, as she has to pay rent, light, and water bill, as well as pay for cable and Wi-Fi, which we all know is a necessity for our modern-day millennials. Buy lunch, pay for transportation, and have money left over to ensure she does her hair and nails and have enough to maintain an active social life. By the end of the month, this $70,000 seemed like pocket change to Sally. Moreover, $70,000 is $561.30 US dollars, which is less than the minimum wage in Arizona, Alabama, Maine, and Maryland, all the states in America. Call centers in Jamaica are generally 50% to 60% less expensive than US and UK call centers, according to worldwidecallcenter.com. If they're not paying their workers this small amount, why should we bend our backs, roll over, and accept it? This is modern-day indentured workers, judges. Opposition. You might convince yourself that these individuals are gaining experience when they work in these areas. But I ask you this, experience in what really? Why not have these young people engaged in internship and apprenticeship, programs specific to their career choice, if we truly want to give them the value-added experience? Being dependent on the BPO call centers will not benefit us. We see the effects of our dependence on China. Debt, and more debt. Will we ever learn? These businesses are here for themselves, not for our vulnerable school leavers. Judges, that's why we need to promote STEAM education, internship and apprenticeship opportunities, instead of encouraging a culture of bottom feeders where we work for someone but never have anything for ourselves. My worthy opponents, encourage our young people to dream big, think big, and be innovators. STEAM education, the future, not the low-level call center jobs or tourism jobs. Innovators, movers, and shakers. And that's what Montego Bay should want for its school leavers. And with this, the proposition pauses.
We're in our semifinals, and if you're just tuning in, it's the Bel Air High School versus Herbert Morrison Technical High. When we return, our third speakers along with the rebuttal is the semifinal rounds of the 2019 National Tourism Debate.
Hi everyone, my name is Tamika Bryce and I'm a law student at the Faculty of Law, UWI Mona, and a proud ambassador of Mobile City Run. Mobile City Run is celebrating its 6th year and it's the biggest run in Montego Bay. Over the past 5 years, Mobile City Run has donated $19.5 million towards education. To sign up for Mobile City Run, go to www.mobilecityrun.com and join us on Sunday, May 5th at 6 a.m. at the Old Hospital Park, Montego Bay. Mobile, let's do this.
Welcome back to the 2019 National Tourism Debate. Our moot question for this evening: Montego Bay is too reliant on BPO call centers and tourism for jobs for school leavers. We will now hear from our third speakers.
How are BPO call centers helping to build a better Jamaica if little to no money that is earned by BPO call centers goes to the government? In no way are we saying that BPOs and tourism are not important, as they do have a place in our society. But by encouraging this type of employment on such a large scale, we are creating a dangerous foundation. Innovation, creativity, entrepreneurship, education, and forward thinkers are the foundation first world nations are built on, and I cannot understand why we would not want to emulate them. A young, uneducated, or undereducated population does not a strong foundation make. Large groups of non-contributors to income tax, as the little they make falls way below the tax threshold, does not a good foundation make. Judges, show me a country that has first world status based on the BPO sector, one that does not own these call centers, and I will admit defeat right here, right now. All protocols observed, good afternoon. My job as the third speaker is to strengthen my team's stance by highlighting the negative effects tourism has on an island that is smack dab in an ocean plagued by hurricanes and earthquakes. Hurricanes cost Caribbean tourism more than $700 million US dollars, was the report made by the Jamaican Observer on May 14, 2018. The article went on to say the tourism industry in the Caribbean region attracted almost 1 million fewer visitors after Hurricane Irma and Maria hit last year, costing over $700 million. We have also witnessed year after year where tourism is affected negatively during the hurricane season, as London-based World Travel and Tourism Council reported that the 2017 hurricane season resulted in an estimated loss of 826,100 visitors to the Caribbean, compared to the pre-hurricane forecast. Have you ever stopped to think about where all these persons who were not needed in the industry because of the decline in arrivals ended up? They ended up in an unemployment line or working on a part-time basis, as their limited education and skill set does not qualify them for much. Foresight, my opponents, foresight. We need to create an economy that is not so dependent on a lower order training and skill set. We need young people who can contribute to rebuilding a country should this very possible disaster hit. So when things go haywire, knowing how to fold a sheet or how to be polite or how to entertain has very little value in a damaged country. Those who are of value are going to be those skilled plumbers and electricians, the economists and the engineers. Audience. Some people believe that bad things only happen to others, not to them. Do not be fooled. Haiti is 90 miles away, and an earthquake totally ravaged their island in 2010. Not only could they not physically accommodate visitors, but foreign direct investments declined, according to then Haiti Tourism Minister, Stephanie Balmier. Barbuda, my opponents, they had no one living in their island for the first time in 300 years because of a hurricane. Why then would Montego Bay, knowing this could be in its very near future, want to encourage young people to work for someone else and not learn nation-building skills? Why are we so attractive to BPO call centers? It is because we have above others is a cheap labor and a licky-licky mindset. Montego Bay has proven itself to be populated with people who see any employment as employment. Again, I say, a shaky premise for a foundation, St. James. Montego Bay is too reliant on BPO call centers and tourism for our school leavers to get a job, and this, we believe, is a recipe for disaster. The proposition rests.
Madam Chair, panel of adjudicators, members of the House, a pleasant evening to you all. Madam Speaker, Montego Bay is seen as a tourist capital in the Caribbean, cited by His Worship the Mayor, Homer Davis, Mayor of St. James, in an article published in the Business Year 2018, and I quote, "Montego Bay by itself is a product in the tourism industry. When people speak about tourism in Jamaica, the first place that comes to mind is Montego Bay. We cherish that Montego Bay is a tourism capital of the Caribbean," end quote. Madam Speaker, Montego Bay is not too reliant on the BPO sector, nor the tourism sector. We are just capitalizing on the opportunity presented. Imagine this, Mr. Speaker. If you discover a well in your yard, Madam Speaker, wouldn't you capitalize on that well, maximize it, and benefit from the free water, Madam Speaker? Exactly. It may seem as if we are relying on tourism and the BPO, but in truth and in fact, Madam Speaker, we are not. It is just that those sectors are two of the easiest sectors for employment. And it is heavily advertised because it helps to get young people, specifically the at-risk youth, into employment rather than illegal activities, Madam Speaker. Additionally, Madam Speaker, Montego Bay has many other sources of employment not accepted. These are entrepreneurship, which includes accounting firms and business advisories, human resource, transportation, employment due to the increased infrastructure projects undertaken by the UDC, municipal corporation, and private individuals. The Prime Minister talked about farming. Montego Bay does not have the natural resources for farming. The second speaker said that we are relying on China, and look where we are. We have a highway linking St. James, the western region, to the western region to the eastern region, which reduces the transformation, not accepted, transformation time between here and there. Again, Mr. Speaker, I stress it. There are many sources of employment for school leavers, but tourism and the BPO sector serves as the easiest way for employment. Madam Speaker, we must capitalize on this beneficial opportunity. We must utilize the well.
Welcome back to the 2019 National Tourism Debate. We will now have the rebuttals, and we will begin with the opposing team, Herbert Morrison Technical High School. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as is evident, the BPO sector has transformed many a life that could have gone in the wrong direction. Ladies and gentlemen, as well-thinking and logical Jamaican citizens, you should understand that the government seems to be blighted for some reason or the other. Basic salary given to our citizens is rather an ambiguous stance to take. How about mentioning a BPO country that grants our young people a 200,000 Jamaican dollar per month wage? How about mentioning a BPO company that grants our young people a 200,000 Jamaican dollar wage per month? Or would that falsify your notion of basic wages being given to our people? Let's face the fact. These sectors are not perfect, but these sectors are cornerstones, building blocks of developing an individual's character and future. Let's imagine for a moment young individuals who are unable to afford university funds and do not intend on taking student loans. Is it not only logical to be employed in a call center? You are developing your character, you are becoming more marketable, and you're honing your communication skills and becoming a holistic individual. Tapping into these sectors, which prove to be a foreign exchange magnet, would seem as a crime, as a way to belittle ourselves as proposed by said government. The BPO sector, for example, has reduced the unemployment rate in young adults by a margin of 12.9%, and in extension, reducing the crime rate. Isn't that the aim of the government? To reduce unemployment while crime is also being reduced? It isn't the case of being too reliant, ladies and gentlemen. It is the case of stabilizing our failing economy because of our government. Thank you.
Judges, call centers and the tourism sector are not bad things. They are not, but Montego Bay is being too reliant on these sectors for jobs for school leavers. This is the bad thing, my opposition. We must develop a nation of innovators, a nation of entrepreneurs. Your first speaker asked the question, where the experience will come from. But Madam Speaker, if I want to become a lawyer, why not send off my application and my resume to a law firm? There I will get experience in the field that I wish to study. There is little or no requirements for you to work at a call center. The only thing that is needed is a grade 1, 2, or 3 in mathematics and CXC. What are we teaching our youths? We are teaching them, okay, let us focus on English. Let us just focus on English only. Let's not worry about the sciences. Let's not worry about the business subjects. Let us focus on English so that we can add an accent to the way we speak and work for a call center. As my second speaker mentioned, basic requirements for a basic salary. We do not support that. Your second speaker also stated that we do not. What about those who do not have CXC? Call center is the place to be for those who do not have CXC. Ha ha ha. This is laughable. Why should we entertain such an idea? It is like we're teaching our youths to be mediocre. If they're not book smart, why not teach them to learn a skill? Why not teach them to learn a trade? The second speaker also mentioned that going to a call center, getting a job at a call center will afford us with the opportunity to learn basic communication skills. But are you aware that we learn basic communication skill in English language and communication studies presently that high school facilitate? Your third speaker said that it is easy to get job in these sectors. But why is this so? This is so because the BPOs, call centers, and tourism know that they won't have to pay. It will cost them little or nothing to pay us. You are being brainwashed, my opposition members. Why are we making Montego Bay better for the tourists who come here for a short period of time? We need to make it better for the people who are living here all year round, the residents, the school leavers. Why? We believe that our nation, no parish should be reliant on the sectors that are not ours. We are too heavily reliant on BPOs. And then in the end, if they leave, we are the one left with the void. The school leavers suffer, our future suffer. Let us educate our school leavers. Let us empower them to be innovators and entrepreneurs, and then we can truly say that we are helping them to be productive members of society. If school leavers know that call centers are readily available to them, they will not feel the need to go to university. And if the young people are the future, Jamaica will then become trapped in a low-level tourism job or call centers. I do not know about you, but I do not like to be caught up in a dark and dreary place. I do not want to be a part of this. Opposition members, do you not watch the news? Do you not keep up with social media? I am sure that everyone in the audience is aware that we are in the debt because we buy into the help that China is presently giving to us. The proposition rests.
Let's give a round of applause to our schools this evening. I now invite our Chief Judge, Stacey Williams, to announce the results of the winning team.
Pleasant evening. Let us hear it for our schools. I can tell you this was quite exciting. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Well done. Well done. I must say I have seen a lot of improvement, and we are happy for where you have reached. We are. Just one thing in terms of getting you better, because again, we can all be better. There was still a lot of reading. So we're looking that at the finals, we're not going to be seeing so much reading. But it was well done, well researched, and we applaud you for that. That said, the best speaker this evening was Tamia Coley. And the winning school is Bel Air High School. Thank you.
Congratulations to our winners, Bel Air High School, who will now advance to the finals. We thank you for watching the 2019 National Tourism Debate. A big thank you to our judges and to our sponsors who made this possible. I'm your host, Janet Silvera.